Welcome, you guys. I'm very excited to have you on today. I love that you are brothers and you're both clinicians. We're just going to get into some betrayal trauma and how that feels like PTSD, and then the triggers that come after that for so many people that have experienced that. So, whoever would like to go first with this, I'm happy to just let you duke it out. It's a really tender, horrible thing when people are betrayed, especially in partnership, and it's sometimes impossible to get over, and it does lead to divorce or separation. In your very extensive experience, how do you kind of start with couples who are trying to maybe work through this?
Take it away, Tyler.
All right. Yeah. So something that we work with the couples that come into our office is helping them actually understand the nature of what this trauma really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people want to like section it off as just saying, well, this is one part of our life where there was a breakdown in some kind of a trust, but it doesn't really work that way for the partner who's been betrayed
Mm-hmm.
because the place where they're supposed to feel the safest, that's the most connected, the most secure, has now become the place that feels the least safe. And so the body experiences like a real threat. Something is actually really off that this almost feels like it's threatening their life. So partners who are betrayed often report the same symptoms as someone who has PTSD with other big traumas, where they have flashbacks and they can't sleep properly and eating problems and the hypervigilance that comes with being in trauma all the time, where they're always looking outward for the
Mm-hmm.
risk factors that might prove that they're still not safe in some way. And it actually causes a partner who's been through betrayal almost a secondary layer of trauma when they're being told, hey, just get over it, or it was just this one thing, or it doesn't feel that way. It actually is like a whole soul and body encompassing experience to experience real betrayal on a
Abs-
relationship level.
Absolutely. Brandon, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I just, yeah, what Tyler's saying is true. It is trauma. It's
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it, if you find out that you're being cheated on, you're going to remember that and have a pretty intense emotional response to it. And it's no wonder that the people that we work with who have been betrayed most of the time can be like, yeah, it was January 20th on,
Mm-hmm.
2016. Like they remember the day clearly. It's imprinted. It's very obvious to them. But to what Tyler was saying, it's more complex than normal trauma because it's like things around betrayal trauma, around discovery, are like little gaslights, manipulations, turning the tables.
Mm-hmm.
You sometimes like family members get involved and complicate things, or clergy, and so
Mm-hmm.
it gets really sticky and messy on top of this like real strong emotional response that you have to the things that have happened to you. So it's we call it multidimensional trauma. It's complex trauma, betrayal is.
Right.
And so it's important to look at it through that lens.
I was actually thinking about what you just said with it being so complex, especially when the person that's betrayed you is the person you used to go to for safety and comfort, and there's a response that humans have where they're like, I want to go back to you to
Mm-hmm.
fix this. Like, please heal me. Like, you used to comfort me, like make me feel better. And the person who's betrayed them are now completely unsafe. And so that person that they used to go to is not there. Or I was also thinking about in toxic relationships who either it's a narcissist or some kind of toxic person is creating these like gaslighting situations where the person is being betrayed but then told, no, that's not true, like, and I'll tell you
Mm-hmm.
why it's not true. And they're like, it's like a ping pong of like, wait, I trust you, no I don't, yes I do, no I don't, are you safe, yeah, no I, and it makes it really difficult for someone to know like what's up and what's down.
Mm-hmm. We call that crazy making. Or
Definitely.
and what really sucks is somebody who's been in a relationship like this, it starts to deteriorate their ability to trust their gut
Mm-hmm.
and follow their intuition because they are confused. What is truth, and who am I, and am I okay like feeling these things? And it can
Mm-hmm.
really do damage to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And like to that topic of trusting yourself and trusting your gut, Do you have clients that you've worked with that you've worked on that with them? Because I feel like, especially after betrayal, you're so terrified to trust anyone. But now you can't not look at yourself and be like, how did this happen to me? How did I get here? Like, I thought I had a good judge of character. Why did this happen? How do you work with people to learn to trust themselves again?
Yeah, there's a cycle that betrayed partners often fall into, we call the fear cycle, where after usually they feel something's wrong before they even know it's wrong, but they can't put their finger on it. And that's where they start to feel crazy and
Yeah.
lose their sense of self and their confidence. And then when they find out, they have that big trauma response. And then that trauma response leads to the cycle. And so it leads to obsession, and the brain just doesn't want to turn off. And it's like, what else do I need to find out? What else should I know? Where else can I trust myself or not? Other people or not? Who should I talk to? It has threads in every part of life. And the more that that obsession happens, the emotional tank gets more and more empty.
Mm-hmm.
And the more empty you get emotionally, the bigger the emotional responses. And so that leads to a next stage in the cycle we call control. And this is what you're talking about, I think, Jackie, is the control will either go two ways. It'll either be, I'm going to control my partner's behaviors. I'll make sure they get into their therapy or go to a 12-step meeting or do whatever else. Or oftentimes the control goes inward and they start to say, what's wrong with me? Like, why, if we just had sex more, or if I was nicer, or if there was less stress, or if there was, and it goes inward, and that self-judgment starts to erode their sense of self. And then it leads to more pain and shame, and the pain and shame leads to more instability. And pretty soon they're in that cycle. And so your question's a really good question, because oftentimes the betrayed partner wants the solution to be that the person who's betrayed me is just going to stop betraying me and get honest, which
Yeah.
has to happen. But I'm not going to be able to trust whether or not what I'm seeing is real until I do the work to break that cycle for myself, which is to learn how to ground myself emotionally, learn how to regulate my emotions and have the right kind of support, and then to start actually following through on what my gut feelings are and trusting my gut again in what my gut's saying. So if I have a partner that's saying, I swear I haven't done anything in 3 weeks, but my gut is still going like, something's still not quite right.
Yeah.
We actually teach those partners to start following their gut and then finding out later if they're right or wrong, because what they've done is they've sacrificed their self-respect and then been betrayed in the process.
I know that is hitting home for some people because, like, I've been there too, and it's very hard to come back from. And I know personally, I started very small with just trying to relearn to hear my intuition in the tiniest of ways, like not even relationally. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, I'm talking minuscule. Like, should I change lanes right now because the traffic seems to be moving faster? Or should I just stay in the lane? And my gut would be like, stay in your lane. And I'm like, okay. And then my lane would move forward. And I'm like, huh, okay. Okay. And it helped. It was like minuscule. It had no like weight. And it just helped me like get back into being like, no, I do trust myself and I do trust my gut. And what you said too, Tyler, that's so important is because you've kind of just completely lost how to trust your gut, when you are taking that big leap of, okay, my gut is saying like I just don't trust him or her and they are lying to me even though I don't have the proof to show it, but I'm going to like take that leap and be like, no, you know what? I can't do this. Or they leave the relationship or something big changes and then they find out later, oh, hey, you were right. You were right. It must be so gratifying.
Yeah. You know, Jackie, I was talking to someone last week and she was telling me about her situation. And from my standpoint, I'm listening and I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is so obvious. Like he's cheating on you, he's hurting you. But she was giving every way for it to be possible that wasn't the reality because she didn't want that to be the reality. And something you just said about starting to trust your gut again. One of the big misnomers with all of this is when you get betrayed, a knee-jerk reaction is, I don't want anybody to know because one, I'm embarrassed and the pain so much, but two, I'm probably supposed to protect them too. Like This is just our business in our marriage. And when somebody's feeling crazy and they can't trust themselves, like I can't tell you how powerful it is when they have a really healthy group around them and they can call their group members and be like, am I crazy? Am I off here? Is this okay? And the group is like, you are just fine. Like, it is okay.
Follow your gut.
Yeah, follow your gut. Do this, right? So a support system is vital to start to trust yourself again.
Well, yes, very much so. And in toxic relationships, there's a lot of isolation that's happening usually too. So finding a group, do you guys do that? Like how could people find support groups that are, besides just actually finding therapists, but like a support group feels different. It feels like community. How could people find that?
I think there's one of the most powerful things that you can do for a situation like this is maybe even sometimes more powerful than just a therapist is the actual group, because there's a synergy in the group with people who have common elements that you're also going through. And I look at a good group as almost like a scaffolding that helps you to kind of hold your values and hold your shape while you try to get your feet planted again and move forward and make the hard decisions that are inevitably going to come as a result of going through that. And so, yeah, we do like our program is one of many. We do we run something called Reclaim Your Heart groups, which are for both the people who've done the betraying and for the betrayers. And then we try to help people who want to work back together to do that together. Sometimes they don't. And so you can definitely do it that way, but there's, a lot of other programs out there too that also do the same thing. That I think the key principle here is you find people, and this is important for looking for your team. You want to find people who are willing to learn what you're going through, who will keep your confidences and not go spread all of your stuff everywhere, who will also balance a push for your growth while also showing empathy. You don't want someone like just keeping you stuck in this. In fact, I just listened to one of your episodes about the victim mentality. It's really true that you can be victimized by being cheated on, and yet you don't want to stay forever in the victim mentality. And so,
although it's valid,
I
mean, you can stay there if you want.
It's justified, right?
Hopefully not forever.
It's your life and your freedom on the line, right? And so having a good team member is one who will say, it is dark down here. Yes, I see you. I'm there with you. And how do we climb out of this? Let's move. Let's grow. And so if you get a team member that meets those criteria, then that's what you need, because that's going to help to move you forward and be that scaffolding that holds you in place as you get planted again.
I really love the visual of scaffolding, actually. That just really feels like a very solid thing that you can picture, and it makes a lot of sense. Where you're like, I'm not quite ready to stand on my own, but I have these people holding me up that can make me feel even stronger than I already am. And then I can grow in that strength. And eventually I won't need as much scaffolding. I can then become scaffolding for maybe someone else.
Awesome. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would just add to what you're saying before we shift the subject a little bit, is one of the benefits of learning to follow through, like you were talking about earlier, just a little bit of following your gut, is that if you start to strengthen that muscle, it gets to the point where you're actually offering not only your own growth in knowing to trust your gut, but you're actually offering a gift to the relationship. Because now it's like, for instance, if my wife comes to me and she says, hey, Tyler, something still feels really, really off. And I'm like, nothing's off. Like, there's nothing wrong here. She's like, I know, but like, my gut's telling me that, and I think I need the night away to go take care of myself and see what's going on for me. That night away that she takes following her own gut is also a night where I'm left to go, what's possibly keying this off for her? Am I doing something that might be triggering that for her? And is that something I want to look at or change or not? And if I'm willing to do that, that's also going to rebuild trust in the long term. And if I'm not willing to do that, then that's also data for my wife as she's getting her feet planted, right?
Yeah. That is actually a really interesting, I feel like that's a very common dynamic in couples where, and I do not mean to be sexist, but I do feel like women are like, I feel like something's off.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. She's like, no, really. I think something has shifted. And he's like, okay, what did I do? And right. It's tough to be in that place. So I like that, in those cases, like you'll take a a beat to be like, hold on, let me go just check in and see if there's anything I'm missing. Maybe I see it, maybe I don't. And also for her too, because I mean, it could just be something that's going on with her. And by the way, I'm not talking about just your wife,
Right.
just anybody in the couple.
Yeah.
Just taking that space to be like, is something like perpetuating in me from outside sources that I'm feeling, and I feel safe with my partner. So I'm going to maybe try to see if there's something wrong with us first before I investigate the other things that may be the actual source. Possibly. We don't know. But it's all data, right? We're just taking in information. But I love that because so many partners would be like, nothing's wrong. It's fine. Everything's fine. Like, it's in your own head. And the other partner feels completely invalidated. And they're like, well, now I feel less safe voicing any concern to you. So, okay, bye,
It sounds a lot like the gaslighting that I've been doing to you all along. If I'm like, yeah, there's nothing wrong, get over it. Like, what are you thinking? It's like, but if I'm humble enough to say, okay, let me think through that. It might be the type of thing where I go and I think about it and I'm like, okay, I've been stressed out at work and I've been a little bit checked out and I haven't been as emotionally present. And she's probably picking up on that now.
Right.
And now I might go back to her when she's done or when we touch base again and say, I think this might be going on. How does that feel to you? And she's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, rather than she still feels like she's crazy because I'm like, there's nothing wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so it's an opportunity for connection too.
I really love this. This is such a nuance in relationships that happens all the time where you're just like, it's a perfect little tiny fight that can happen so quickly, but like being, humble about it and just being like, let me check in first and see if there's anything I'm doing or just exerting something, just can really create a much more solid ground to work from. And that's in healthy relationships, guys. Not the ones that are like broken and toxic. But, let's actually talk about triggers because we get triggered. Everybody does. It's a part of life. With triggers after betrayal, let's give a scenario. The couple is still together. There's been betrayal. They're working towards trust, but some triggers start happening. How does a couple begin to deal with that in a healthy way?
It's really hard to start. So, because a lot of times the person who's done the betraying, they have a really low sense of self-worth and a lot of shame. And so when their partner comes around and says, hey, I just smelled a perfume by somebody, or I just saw this, or I heard this song, and a trigger can be anything. It can be any sensory thing that triggers an emotion. But when they say like, I'm hurting right now because it triggered this and it reminded me that you hurt me. The partner who's done the betraying usually, can I say what doesn't work first, Jackie?
Yeah.
And then
You do you. I'm happy to hear.
So the knee-jerk reaction is they'll try to fix it. They'll try to say, well, I didn't do anything wrong today. It's okay. Like nothing happened, which will invalidate the emotion. They'll turn the tables. They'll say, how long are you going to beat me over the head for this? Like, I'm doing the best I can in therapy and here you are. So the partner's triggered and there you are invalidating and telling them they're horrible for being triggered. Logic and reason will be another one where you get logical with it when they're having an emotional response, and it's like, no, I actually was there for 5 minutes. This was what was on my phone. See, this is what it was. All of these things invalidate. And what needs to happen, what I teach the betrayers that I work with is that your partner's triggers are awesome opportunities for you. Like, it's beautiful. This is where the magic of the rebuild happens, is if you can stop for a minute and hold some space for them and help them process what's going on inside of them, if you can empathize, if you can explore with them, then they're going to feel like, wow, you didn't take it personal. You were a safe person. You helped me get clear about where I'm at. Now, I make this sound really easy.
What?
And
it's not?
It's not easy. And there's all kinds of skills that go into play to do this, especially shame resiliency skills. But if you can start doing that, that's where you can really start to rebuild trust again. So,
and I would just add on the other side, for the person who's been betrayed, there are certain ways that you're more likely to get the kind of response that's helpful to you in the way that you approach it, if you can. Sometimes you're so flooded emotionally, you just can't help it, and boom, it comes out. It's like, I'm raging, or I'm mad, or I'm frustrated. But it's really common when a betrayed partner gets triggered that they want to go, and what they're looking for is stability and answers, but they ask questions that will never quite provide that. So they'll go into detail after detail after detail. So they'll be out to dinner, and the waitress will walk by or something, and it'll trigger something. And then they'll ask the question, did you notice the waitress? Did you notice what size the bra was? Did you notice da, 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 da? Those questions are an attempt to try to find stability, but if your partner answers every one of those questions honestly, it just leads you further and further down the rabbit hole. Whereas if you can trace your triggers back to, oh, I'm feeling that lack of stability again, I'm feeling that fear, I'm feeling that like betrayal, I'm feeling that anger. If I can pause with the trigger for just a second and then bring it to the next level, which is the emotional level, I can offer that to my partner. And if my partner's willing to do the work, they can learn to hold that with me.
Right. So the partner who's starting to like identify the emotion, they're just like, hey, I just want to say this. I'm just feeling some fear come up because of that waitress. And I just wanted to be honest with you. Like, is that a way that they could say it?
Yeah, totally. And
Just simply.
I'm having a real big trigger right now because I just heard this song on the radio, and it brought me back to all of these old places. And I need to know if you hear me, if you see me, if you're there for me, or I just need to be seen for a second. Right. That's different than, we can never listen to that radio station again, and we can't drive by this place again, and we can't do, and they start closing down their whole lives trying to prevent triggers, rather than just saying, triggers are going to happen, and I need you to hold the space with me when I feel those things.
But I really want to emphasize that when you're triggered, you're in your emotional state of mind, and you're reactionary. So don't expect yourself to stop and be like, let me communicate perfectly to you right now. Like, and if you're the partner that's listening, you can really help them regulate their emotions and stay grounded when they come at this emotional state of mind. And you're like, whoa, something's going on here. Help me understand it.
Yeah.
That can diffuse it down, and then you can work through it. So don't expect yourself to, what Tyler's saying is true, and that's awesome, and it's better, but it's not how we humans always work.
Right. And Brannon, I would clarify that too. If I'm on the unfaithful side and I'm being hit with this trigger, I'm also getting flooded with my own emotions of shame and all the stuff that I've done in the past. That's why I have to do my own work on shame resiliency. But I might be the one that actually can help steer that conversation differently. So if my wife comes to me and she's like, hey, did you do this, or did you see this, or what do you think about this or this? I might be able to pause and say, hey, the fact that you're asking all of these questions tells me that you must be feeling this or this or this or this. And you watch for their body language, and they'll give it away. The body language will kind of soften when you hit it right, and they're like, oh, okay. And they say, okay, tell me more about that. Like, I want to hear more about that, right? Instead of answering these 20 questions that are going to lead us to nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. She is fortunate that you are a therapist.
Yeah.
But no, it's a learnable thing. We as partners can ask those questions and just make that space for the other person to just feel that feeling and not have it shut down or invalidated. And that is what creates more trust and kind of starts to begin again in that relationship. It sounds like that kind of couple is a couple that really, really wants the relationship to work.
Yes.
Otherwise, it does feel like the couple who doesn't, or at least one of them who doesn't want it to work, they will never make that work, because that's a lot of effort. That's a lot of effort.
That's right. It is a ton of effort.
Well, and they'll take it as an opportunity to bludgeon the other person. Like, let me show you how crazy, stupid, over the top, horrible you are for the emotion that you have. And it's really sad. You say you want to be here in this relationship, but you don't want to do the repair work to really hold their pain. Holding their pain is what's required to repair it. And so then exit the relationship instead of traumatizing them over and over again like that.
I actually want to add like a little bit of sort of addiction into this, because that's something that you both specialize in. And addiction is a betrayal in its own unique way, right? Where one of the people in the couple is maybe hiding an addiction or is not hiding it, but it is there. It's like the other partner in the relationship. How do you both view addiction within the relationship and betrayal? How does that look for you guys with clients?
Well, so yeah, we deal with this a lot, Jackie, and we're probably a little bit skewed in that most of the betrayal that we see, there usually is an element of some type of addiction behind the scenes going on. Not to say that betrayal can't happen without addiction being there, but addiction, Tyler and I have both treated drug addiction and sex addiction. Addiction's an attachment disorder. It creates, in order to have an addiction survive, you have to live in a lot of denial. And what someone struggling with addiction will do is they will hang on to their denial and try to manipulate their partner so that they can have their addiction and their relationship at the same time. And that's where you say it's a unique version of betrayal. It truly is, because the partner just doesn't know what's up and what's down. The addict is minimizing things, justifying things, making excuses all of the time. And so it's just hard to know what is. And so yeah, it's very much part of creating some complex betrayal trauma when addiction is there.
Absolutely.
We won't typically even start doing any type of relationship repair work with couples until we know that the addiction has left the relationship. Because it's like you just said, Jackie, it's like a different affair partner. And another way of saying what Brannon just said is that in order to tolerate seeing myself in the mirror, I have to lie to myself enough to keep my addiction alive, that it causes me to form, I call them secondary character flaws. And my partner is the one who takes all the brunt of the secondary character flaws. She'll take the dishonesty, she'll take the lying, she'll take the manipulation, she'll take all of the stuff that I'm doing for my own self-protection. And yet she's the one incurring all of that extra pain. And so those secondary character flaws really erode the relationship. And the addict thinks that they're just protecting their addiction, when in reality, they don't see the effect they're having on everyone else around them.
Absolutely. And when people get clean, I mean, there's so many different ways that looks. If they go to rehab, if they're in, in-person treatment, and even if they are sober, there's, like dry drunk and
sobriety is not recovery. Like you can still destroy relationships even when you're clean.
Right. Can talk more about that for people.
It's so important to understand it, because like I've seen plenty of sober people continue to manipulate, gaslight, disconnect in all kinds of ways. And it's partners will ask us, well, how do I know when they're really safe, when they're really in recovery, they're really trustworthy? And we give an answer that kind of sucks, but it's like, you just know, you feel it, you know that they're authentic, they're consistent, they're empathetic, like their heart has found recovery. And so now they can create love. And getting sober alone doesn't do that. So sobriety's great. Like, yay, let's do sobriety. That's awesome. It's great, but it's not the end goal.
Right, because it's so mental. I mean, this is a whole identity that you've created from lying to yourself, to others, and it sounds like it's what you've lived by. So undoing that and learning how to be honest with others and yourself, along with keeping your sobriety during recovery, because recovery is forever. Yep. It's a lot of work.
It's a ton of work. And I think another way of looking at this is that the addiction is the flower of a plant that has a stalk and deep roots. And real recovery is addressing the flower. It's getting rid of the behavior. But you got to remember, the behavior is the medicine I've been using to cope with the roots of the plant. And so real recovery, we call it a lifestyle of connection. It's an adopting of a lifestyle. And you just hit those things, being honest with myself and with others. And we talk about a lifestyle of connection with a wrestle with things bigger than myself, or a higher power, connection authentically with other people, with honesty and empathy, which is that ability to love and connect, and then connection to self, heart, and mind, learning to trust myself to live life on its terms without disappearing. And if I have a heart that's willing to learn to live connection three ways, that's where you start to feel that thing Brandon's talking about, where it's like, oh, my partner is in actual recovery. I feel that. I see that energy rather than just a sobriety date.
God, that is powerful. Can you say it one more time? Just that was really, really intense.
Yeah. We look at wholehearted recovery as the commitment to a lifestyle of connection in three ways: a wrestle with things bigger than ourselves, authentic connection with other people through empathy and accountability and honesty, and then connection with self, heart, and mind, learning to trust myself to cope with life on its terms.
Right.
Jackie, can I just say, like, I'm going to admit something here. We kind of trick people a little bit. Okay. So they come in like, ouch, I've been cheated on. Ouch, I have this addiction. I want to get rid of it. Please solve these problems. Like, this is what I need help with. And we know that that's like the pain point. That's like, but the truth is, and coming back to what Tyler just said, those three things that he just listed, they don't just happen out of the blue. Right. We take them through a process of deep trauma healing, somatic healing on a deep level, where they get new answers about who they are. They understand they're like who God made them to be. I was just listening to an episode of yours, and it was like, she was talking about your soul, your ego, and the matrix that we're in. And yeah. I loved it. I loved it.
Everyone's loved that episode. I keep getting all these emails. I'm like, wow.
Incredible. And so what happens is people come into therapy with the ego. They're like, okay, in my head, let's fix this. And we know that the soul is what needs to really heal and get back online. We need to rediscover that your soul is there. Mm-hmm. And we need to unwind all of this. You're living in this matrix and your ego is trying to live in it. And the way that you do that is through a process of surrender and really, really letting go. And so yeah, our trauma healing is what actual recovery is.
I full-heartedly agree with that. I think I just heard something recently the other day, and I just thought it was so simple and so perfect, is that, you can be given all the coping mechanisms in the world, but that is only temporarily helping you calm down. That is not fixing anything. That's not fixing the root problem. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what you guys are discussing and talking about, is that recovery is traumatic. It's trauma that has never been addressed, and it takes time and a lot of work to really get into it. And a lot of people, especially people who have addiction, that's the thing they're trying to hide from. They're trying to run away from that with the addiction sometimes, most times. And to really face it head on, again, takes a lot of courage and strength. So anyone who can reach those three things that you just discussed, Tyler, and really look at themselves and be like, I'm okay at looking at this trauma and like being like, that's part of my story, and getting through it to connect with others in a real, honest, empathetic way. I mean, that deserves a gold medal, like a real Olympic gold medal.
Amen. Yeah.
It's a massive undertaking, but it's so beautiful. And you work in this world, Jackie, to see the miracle that takes place when somebody actually is willing to go through the cave instead of trying to avoid it. And they come out on the other side with, it's almost like a new superpower of self-confidence in life. And I really think it's just a deeper level of true self-acceptance. That's what we're talking about here. It's a pathway. Processing our trauma is just a pathway into deep, radical self-acceptance. And the souls who get there and start to find that space, they're the ones who shine the light, and everyone wants to gather around and be like, it's like you no longer have a secret, you have a story. And that story actually is really powerful once you can fully embody it and own it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like our soul's evolution, right? And that's personally like my belief, is that like we're here to just learn all the lessons we can. Let's just work as hard as we can to evolve as fast as we can, because I don't want to come back here. I am done.
Amen. Let me move on to the next existence, whatever.
Exactly. I'm like, no more I did it. So yeah, so it's like, people who are willing to take on the really hard stuff, and especially about themselves and their own trauma, like, are warriors. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are doing some really, really good work. I really love. Do you work with men and women?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
good. I was, for a second there, I was like, do you guys have like a men's group? Because that could be so powerful too, especially run by like two guys.
We run men's groups, women's groups, couples groups, and we also do a lot of retreats. So we'll do men's retreats. We do a really big one every fall.
Nice.
That we do a lot of the experiential trauma type work at our retreats. We do a women's retreat in the spring. So we do all kinds of stuff, and we work with both men and women.
That's amazing. You guys, I have enjoyed every minute of this. I really have. I'm like, please come back. I don't know what you want to talk about, but just come back whenever.
We're more than happy to.
We'll find a topic. Please, it'll be in the show notes, but tell people how they can find you.
Yeah, we made a specific link just for this episode. So if you go to therapybrothers.org slash love you even more, and you can put that in the show notes. That's probably the best way. Just click the link in the show notes. But yeah, that specifically is designed for this specific episode. And so that's probably the best way to reach us.
Perfect. You guys, do you have any last thoughts you'd like to share?
I'll share. Just for anyone who's going through this, if you're listening to this and something's resonating with you, there's a pretty good chance that it's hitting some really deep strings for you. And I just want you to know that if you're listening, there's hope here. There is a pathway forward. You can't guarantee where it's going to end, whether you save your relationship or not, but you can find a place of deeper confidence, deeper joy, peace, power, freedom, love. It's entirely possible. So I just want you to leave with hope today.
Yeah, and I just second that. Tyler's running a group tonight with couples, and a lot of these people found out they were being betrayed recently, and their world shattered, and they're in a lot of pain. But it's beautiful to watch just the really early parts of it. They're just willing to step in and heal, and now Tyler and I also have people that we've worked with for years and years, and they are healed and healing. They're constantly healing. Mm-hmm. And so Tyler and I can say there's hope because we see it every day and we live in it, and we work with people at every stage of the process. And so just don't stay stuck in hell. Don't stay stuck in misery. You can move forward, and there is a pathway out and a pathway back to peace again.
Oh man, you guys, thank you so much. I just loved this episode. It was so nice to get to know you.
You too.
Thank you for having us.